The execution ground was silent. Zumo knelt, his hands bound, the weight of countless accusing eyes upon him. The charge? Conspiring to stage a coup. Yet he stood firm. "I will not confess," he said coldly, "even if it means my life ends here." From among the guards, the Empress stepped forward, her jeweled robes glinting beneath the sun. Zumo's gaze locked on hers. "The poison in my veins," he said, his voice sharp, "was your doing. They must have laced the wine I drank last night, and you let it happen." The Empress tilted her head, as if puzzled. "Why such surprise? The minister has already been impeached." Then, with a faint smile, she spoke words that cut deeper than any blade. "I remember you once had feelings for me. Today, I will reward you." She drew a sword, his sword, the one he had gifted her long ago. Back then, when he entrusted her with that blade, he could never have imagined it would one day be turned against him. He remembered the past, how he had stood up for her, shielding her from the storms of court politics, telling her never to worry. Now she told him the same. "Do not worry, Zumo. Your body will rest in the Imperial Mausoleum, and every year, offerings will be made in your name." She raised the sword. A single, decisive thrust, steel-piercing flesh. Pain exploded in Zumo's chest, but his eyes never left hers. "So, this is the end." But not quite. With the last of his strength, he willed it into motion, the rebirth manuscript. A flash of light engulfed him. When his vision cleared, he was in a small wooden room. Different air, different time, and a different body, that of a villainous prince. This time, he had a plan. He would use everything at his disposal to avoid his former fate. He would cultivate the heroine, Ruo, so she could stabilize the dynasty and claim the throne. He thought he had succeeded, but in the end, betrayal had come again. No more. An assistant poked his head into the carriage. "Your Highness, do you have any requests while we travel?" Zumo shook his head. "No." "How long until we arrive?" "Half an hour more, my lord." Zumo's gaze sharpened. "Half an hour, the orphanage. This is when I first met Ruo." "Keep driving," he ordered. "Yes, my lord." He knew Ruo was still a fragile, powerless orphan. In his previous life, he had raised her. In this life, he would not. When the carriage reached the shelter, Ruo, still young, looked around in confusion. Memories surged. She had once been empress. That day, palace servants had rushed to her, pale with fear. "Your Majesty! Coalition forces have besieged the palace. You must leave at once." But she refused. She was waiting for someone. Time was running out. Suddenly, a figure strode into the imperial hall. "The witch!" the servants cried. The woman laughed, her voice cold and mocking. "So loyal, your dogs. Let's see how long they last." With a flick of her hand, dark magic tore through them, leaving the hall silent. Now nothing stood between her and the throne. "It has been a long time, Sister Ruo," the witch said. The Empress's eyes widened. "You!" the witch sneered. "After Zumo took you from the orphanage, you lived a life of glory, even ascended the throne. Meanwhile, I crawled through filth, fighting mongrels for a crust of bread. But in the end, it is you who lost." Ruo frowned. "Why?" The witch stepped closer, her voice like venom. "Because you killed Zumo. No one could get close to you while he stood by your side. The moment you struck him down, you were already finished." Ruo's breath caught. Lies. But the witch had no patience for more words. Her blade flashed once, sinking into the Empress's chest. "You were drunk on power." The witch hissed. "You slaughtered your most loyal protector. Such a foolish, pathetic girl is unworthy of being called Empress." Ruo collapsed onto the throne, blood staining her robes. As her vision dimmed, one thought consumed her. If only I could bring Zumo back. If time could turn back. Ruo's heart whispered the thought as the world blurred around her. Her vision dimmed for a moment. She stood frozen in the shelter, unable to comprehend what had just happened. "Ruo, are you okay?" a boy beside her asked, concern in his voice. Snapping out of her panic, Ruo waved him off. "I'm fine," she said quickly, though her voice trembled. "Then hurry and change into a clean outfit," the boy urged. A noble gentleman will be arriving soon to take one of us away. Ro's breath caught. Her palms grew cold. A noble gentleman, it must be him. Zumo, in her previous life, he had taken her from this very orphanage. That moment had shaped everything. This meant, this time, she had a chance to fix it. A chance to meet him again. A chance not to repeat the same mistakes. The shelter's teacher appeared at the doorway. Everyone, once you're changed, gather in the front yard. A short while later, the children assembled outside. Among them stood a girl with an unusual presence, the one who, in the future, would become the witch. The teacher's gaze found her. Ko Young, don't frighten the others with your appearance. Go to the backyard. Ko clasped her hands and bowed her head. Please, teacher, let me stay. I'll just sit in the corner. I promise I won't embarrass the noble gentleman. I only want to see him. Her voice cracked with desperation. The teacher frowned but said nothing more. The great wooden doors creaked open, and Zumo stepped into the courtyard. The scent of sandalwood followed him, his figure commanding yet calm. The teacher greeted him warmly, guiding him inside. Zumo's gaze swept over the children. In this life, he thought, his path and Lu Rua's would diverge. And she seemed to realize this as well. We've tested all the children's endurance, the teacher explained proudly. Their results surpassed that of ordinary youngsters, perfect as slaves, or even as future warriors. We have many excellent choices here. Then, with a glint of excitement, the teacher pointed. This girl's bones are especially remarkable. Rua stood still, meeting Zumo's eyes with intense determination. The price for her is higher, the teacher added. But worth it. I don't care about the price, Zumo replied. But then, his heart stirred. A faint, familiar feeling. Where is Ko Young? He asked. The teacher's smile vanished. She is the weakest of them all, poor bone structure, no talent whatsoever. He barked toward the girl. Stop disgracing us. Leave this instant. Zumo's eyes narrowed. The witch? He wondered, if he chose Ko Young this time, how would the story change? Ko took a step back, then suddenly rushed forward, throwing herself to her knees before him. Please, take me with you, she cried, clutching at his robe. I will serve you faithfully for the rest of my life. The teacher stormed over, yanking her by the hair to pull her away. But Ko resisted, inching closer to Zumo, her eyes wet with tears. You truly wish to go with me? Zumo asked. Yes, she answered without hesitation. And you will serve me without betrayal? If you take me from here, young master, she said firmly, I will obey your every command. From the side, Ro watched, her heart tightening. She couldn't understand. This isn't right, she thought. Zumo was supposed to pick her. In her past life, it had always been her. Why, is he choosing Ko Young? But for reasons no one could fathom, Zumo was now taking Ko Young away from the orphanage. The teacher, visibly uneasy, asked, My lord, is your choice final? We have many children far more capable than Ko Young. He pressed further, gesturing toward Rua. Lu Rua possesses the rarest talent. Surely she would serve you better. Zumo's gaze turned cold, his voice sharp as a blade. Are you questioning my choice? The tutor paled and dropped to his knees. Forgive me, my lord. From the side, Rua suddenly rushed forward, desperation flashing in her eyes. Please, noble gentleman, take me with you too. The teacher's face twisted in outrage. Shameless! Do not disgrace yourself before the Lord. He grabbed her by the collar, yanking her back. But Zumo stepped forward, taking Ro's hand, only to push her away with a single, forceful motion. For years in his past life, he had kept this girl under his wing, sharing bread, offering shelter, yet in the end, it had all been for nothing. Without looking back, he said coldly, I am leaving only with Ko Young. Roa stood frozen, unable to comprehend what had just happened. The tutor cleared his throat. One small matter, my lord. If you wish to purchase only Ko Young, the price will be 2,000 low-grade spiritual stones, or 200 of medium grade. Zumo's brow furrowed. You dare raise the price? You think to blackmail me? Feigning innocence, the tutor shrugged. I don't understand what you mean, my lord. And if I refuse to pay at all? Zumo asked, his tone laced with danger. Then, we simply will not let you leave, the tutor replied, forcing a smile. At once, one of Zumo's guards stepped forward, eyes flashing like steel. Are you testing your luck with threats? From the shadows, masked figures emerged, ninjas awaiting orders. Zumo waved a hand lazily. Mr. Wang, deal with them. The air shifted. The tutor's face drained of color. He fell to his knees before Zumo, trembling. Spare us! Take every stone, every treasure I possess, just let us live! But Zumo knew the truth. This man had already decided to use Ko Young as a hostage, knowing how fiercely he protected her. The tutor lunged for the girl, but before he could lay a hand on her, a flash of movement, steel sang through the air. A scream tore through the courtyard. The tutor's arm fell limp to the ground. No one, Zumo said darkly, touches Ko Young's life but me. The girl's eyes glistened with gratitude. Then Zumo drove his blade into the earth before her. Kill him! Ko Young froze, her breath catching. He's punished you your entire life. Zumo continued. This is your chance to take your revenge. Her hands trembled as she reached for the weapon. Memories surged. Days when the tutor forbade her from eating, claiming she consumed too much. The punishments that rained down on her without reason. The endless scolding. Other caregivers had begged him to stop, yet he never did. Zumo's voice cut through her hesitation. You have suffered enough. Take back what was stolen from you. Ko Young tightened her grip on the hilt. The storm of killing intent was thick in the air. The teacher's voice rang out like a whip, sharp and furious. You wouldn't dare kill me! I'm the one who picked you up from the gutter, sheltered you, kept you alive! Without me, you would have rotted in some forgotten alley long ago. His words dripped with self-righteousness, but his eyes flashed with contempt. Ungrateful wretch! I should have abandoned you long before this. The girl's fingers tightened around the blade. Her gaze was cold, but her chest burned with unspoken rage. The sword arced down, gleaming in the dim light. The man staggered back, shouting, If you kill me, I'll haunt you for the rest of your days. End it. I'd rather die than endure this pain. Her sword fell again. The final blow silenced him forever. From the shadows, Zumo stepped forward, his voice steady as falling snow. It's over. The girl lowered her weapon and bowed slightly. Master, the order has been carried out. Zumo's eyes gleamed with approval. Good. From now on, follow me, and anyone who dares offend you will meet a death so cruel, their souls will shiver. At his side, Wang spoke cautiously. Young master, what of the other orphans? Zumo waved a hand. Give them coin. Enough to survive, if they have the will. A servant scurried to obey. Behind them, Liru called out, her voice trembling. She reached toward them but found her knees weak, her mind already elsewhere. She needed a place to cultivate, to rebuild her strength. Zumo and the girl, Ko Young, entered the carriage. The man looked at her with a faint smile. Hungry? She shook her head shyly. Not particularly, just a little. He slid several fragrant dishes toward her. Start with these. Her eyes widened at the bounty before her, and she began to eat with unrestrained hunger. Slowly, Zumo murmured. If you wish to follow me, you must accept the removal of certain restrictions in your body. Once they take effect, you will never again raise a hand against me, nor disobey an order. Should you try, your soul will flee your flesh. His gaze pierced her. Before that, I'll give you the right to choose. Think carefully. Ko Young set down her chopsticks, her eyes unwavering. I've made my choice. I won't take back my words. Then, relax. Do not resist. Zumo placed his palm on her head. A ripple of strange, cold energy flowed into her body. Her chest constricted, her breath hitched. Now strike me, Zumo ordered. She tried, only to clutch her chest in agony. This is the seal, he said calmly. If you ever seek to harm me, the pain will be far worse. Ko Young's voice was firm. I will never betray you, young master. Just then, Wang opened the carriage door. We've arrived at the manor. Zumo nodded. Prepare her a room. Have her washed. I have business to attend to. Ko Young followed Wang through the grand halls, her eyes drinking in the beauty around her. I can't live in such a place, she murmured, blushing. I'll sleep in the stables. A maid gasped, but Ko Young waved her off. I'll feel less out of place there. Wang chuckled. You were chosen by the Lord himself. Forget the stables. The servants will bathe you, then you'll eat. Her heart swelled with confusion. Young Master Zumo is too kind. How can I ever repay him? Meanwhile, Zumo walked through the bustling streets, thoughts sharp as blades. The item I need, it should still be here. At a merchant's stall, a buyer was arguing furiously. This jade pendant is small, flawed. 20 spiritual stones at most. The merchant scoffed. 20? I'd be ruined. 50 stones is my lowest offer. The buyer offered 30, the merchant refused. Then Zumo stepped forward. I'll give 100. The merchant blinked in shock. Acceptable price, young master. When the man tried to weave a tale of family heirlooms, Zumo's eyes chilled. Just now, you almost sold your heirloom for 50. Cornered, the merchant nodded quickly. But another man, Len, burst in, furious. I was here first. You can't just take it. Zumo glanced at him with faint amusement. In the original fate, this pendant was mine. Once I was an orphan, yet I could see the rare spiritual properties others missed. By fortune's will, I found an ancient jade pendant, the key to immortality itself. He turned to Len. This is the last time we'll meet. Len's eyes narrowed. The aura from the pendant was unlike anything he had ever felt, an undeniable treasure. Rage boiled in his veins. I'll take it back one day, no matter the cost. Then, suddenly, Len froze. A different pulse of spiritual energy brushed against his senses. His lips curled into a grin. Another chance. In the dim glow of his private chamber, Zumo unfurled his palm. From the jade pendant, a torrent of spiritual energy rippled outward, bathing the room in an ethereal light. His eyes narrowed. He had received exactly what fate owed him. Before him, shimmering into existence, were two treasures, a scroll woven from drifting clouds, its surface pulsing with immortal runes, and a golden ring, glowing faintly with a warmth that seeped into his bones. The cloud scroll of immortality, and the cloud spiritual key. Zumo murmured, his voice low yet trembling with restrained excitement. He could feel it. The scroll's aura pointed toward a hidden spiritual realm. If he cultivated within it, if he restrained his spirit and endured the trials, he might ascend to glimpse the kingdom of heaven itself. That realm was no ordinary secret ground. It was a peerless art, crafted by a great master long buried in the river of time, a place said to hold infinite opportunities and the treasures of ancient immortals. And this key, this golden ring, was the only path into it. Zumo's gaze sharpened. This time, destiny is mine to command. Later, Zumo returned to the manor. The ever-faithful Wang stepped forward and bowed. My lord, I have arranged a third room in the east wing for our young guest. Dinner awaits. Shall I invite Miss Koyong to join us? Zumo shook his head with a faint smile. No. I will see her myself. The manor corridors were silent as Zumo strode toward the east wing. After a short search, he found the third room. Inside, a maid greeted him politely. Meanwhile, in Koyong's chamber, maids were helping the girl bathe. Why you don't have to do everything for me? She stammered, cheeks flushed. The maids exchanged amused glances and withdrew. Koyong, alone now, sank into the hot water, letting the warmth embrace her weary body. It was the first time she had ever bathed in such luxury, far beyond the icy wooden tubs of the orphanage. Then, voices at the door. The maid's tone became respectful, reverent. The noble Lord Zumo. Her heart skipped a beat. Panic seized her, she scrambled for her clothes. The door creaked open. Zumo stepped inside. Wait! Koyong yelped, plunging under the water like a startled fish. Zumo froze, momentarily taken aback. His lips curved into a faint, apologetic smile. Forgive me, I should not have entered so abruptly. Some time later Koyong emerged, now dressed in fine clothes. She bowed slightly. Sorry for making you wait. Zumo's gaze lingered. That outfit, It suits you well. Her cheeks warmed. Thank you, young master. Come, he said, turning toward the corridor. We eat first. Then, there is something important we must do. The dining hall was bright, with servants arrayed on either side. Platters of steaming delicacies lined the table. Koyoung's eyes widened. Her stomach growled audibly. What are you waiting for? Zumo asked with a faint smirk. The food will not stay warm forever. She didn't need to be told twice. She attacked the dishes with unrestrained hunger. Miss, please slow down. You might choke, a servant fretted. Koyoung devoured mouthful after mouthful, her speed leaving even Zumo momentarily speechless. When she finally set her chopsticks down, she rubbed her stomach sheepishly. I usually don't eat this much. Zumo chuckled. Wang, tell the cook to keep the portions large. 3 meals a day. Wang bowed. Yes, my lord. When they finished eating, Zumo led her to a quiet chamber. From within his sleeve, he withdrew the cloud scroll of immortality, its runes swirling like drifting mist. Koyoung, he said solemnly, study this. Inside lies knowledge beyond imagination. If you can master it, then the future will change in ways even I cannot predict. She accepted it with trembling hands. Elsewhere in the city, a merchant rummaged through a pile of broken trinkets. His face darkened as he spotted the shattered remains of a jade bracelet. Reckless fool! He cursed himself. I didn't even think such a thing could hold something valuable. An elder of the King Tang sect happened to pass by, halting when he overheard the man. You mean to say, nothing was found in the alley? The merchant stiffened, bowing quickly. Elder, those words weren't meant for you. The elder crouched, his gaze sharp. Tell me, have you seen a jade keychain anywhere? The merchant's eyes widened. The image in his mind was clear. He had seen it before. It was the very one Zumo had sold not long ago. Within the quiet chamber, the scent of old parchment mingled with faint traces of incense. Zumo sat cross-legged, studying the ancient scroll, its inked characters pulsing faintly with spiritual intent. Without looking up, he spoke calmly to the girl before him. Breathe in, draw the spiritual forces of heaven and earth into your meridians. Let them become one with your body. He already understood who she truly was, Koyoung, the destined villainess of the tale, born with extraordinary talent. If she could truly restrain and master her newfound abilities, she would become a blade sharper than steel in his hand. Yet, before the thought could settle, the girl's delicate frame trembled violently. Her lips parted, and she spat a mouthful of crimson onto the floor. Zumo's gaze hardened. In one smooth motion, he caught her collapsing form in his arms, his voice ringing with authority. Call Dr. Jiang. Now! Servants scattered like startled birds. Meanwhile, far away in a dim, crooked alley, Lenny felt a ripple, an unmistakable surge of spiritual energy emanating from Zumo's residence. He pushed open a half-rotted door, and there she was, a young girl bathed in a faint halo of spiritual light. For a heartbeat, he doubted his eyes. A single misstep crushed a stray piece of straw beneath his foot. Crack! The sound sliced through the still air. In the next breath, the girl blurred into motion, appearing before him like a shadow given flesh. The straw she once stood upon was now pressed coldly against his throat. Who are you? The boy's hands rose slightly, his voice hurried yet steady. I'm Lenny. Been on the streets my whole life. 15 this year. Li Ru, her true name in another life, blinked at the sound of his name. Memories stirred. In her past life, court ministers had once begged the Empress to admit a certain youth surnamed Li into the palace ranks, claiming he possessed an unparalleled talent for treasure hunting. Zumo, however, had rejected the proposal every time. Now, standing before her was that very boy. If his skills could aid her in searching for rare artifacts, her cultivation path could advance at an astonishing pace. She withdrew the straw. Only now did Lenny realize it wasn't a blade at all. Want to keep me company? She asked. His answer was immediate. Gladly. Back in Zumo's chamber, Dr. Jiang examined Koyoung with grave eyes. Her body is indeed blessed with a mysterious gift, he murmured, but her condition is dire. The spiritual form of her body has been weakened to a dangerous degree. This explains her insatiable appetite. Zumo's voice was clipped. Is she ready for cultivation? Dr. Jiang considered. I can prepare a potion to stabilize her. But the process will be agonizing, and only a temporary reprieve. To fully heal her, noble lord, you must obtain an extremely rare herb, the jade grass of icy flesh. The name sent a cold ripple through Zumo's thoughts. He thanked the physician, personally escorting him out. Then he turned to Ko Yang, who was already sitting upright, eyes sharp. You heard everything. About your body, and the treatment. She leapt from her bunk. Young master, I will train harder than ever. His expression darkened. It will be pain unlike anything you've known. Her gaze did not waver. I'm not afraid. If it makes me useful, I will endure it. Zumo studied her for a long moment before saying quietly, I hope your words are not empty. Tomorrow we walk together. She bowed her head. Yes, master. From his sleeve, he produced a small pouch. The pollen inside will dull your pain. Use it wisely. She accepted it with both hands, gratitude shining in her eyes. That night, under the flickering lamplight, Ko Yang sat alone. She untied the pouch, inhaling its faint, cooling scent. Her lips curved faintly. Her young master had personally given this to her. But her joy was short-lived. A sudden, sharp ache tore through her body. She clenched her fists. This must be the pain Dr. Jiang warned about. The next morning, in the dining hall, she devoured her food with ravenous hunger. Zumo, seated nearby, watched in silence until she looked up with a sheepish smile. Thank you, young master, for the delicious dishes. Eat slower, he replied evenly. When she was finally full, he took her hand. Hold on tightly, or you'll lose your meal. Before she could question, his figure blurred. Wind roared past her ears as they streaked through the corridors, out into the world, faster than her eyes could follow. They stopped at the base of the Jade Dragon Mountain. There's a place hidden here, Zumo explained. Within, we may find the jade grass of icy flesh. Her breath came fast. The journey had drained her strength. But just as they prepared to move forward, a low, guttural snort broke the mountain's stillness. From behind a thicket, a beast's snarling face emerged, its eyes burning with primal fury. It lunged. Ko Yang moved instantly, placing herself between Zumo and the danger. Young master, be careful! Yet in her heart, a seed of doubt sprouted. Can I truly protect him, alone? The air shimmered faintly as the noble Lord Zumo raised his palm, threads of mystic power rippling from his fingertips. With a quiet, commanding tone he said, We are fortunate indeed to find bloody amber flowers in this forsaken place. The beast has not fully consumed their essence. Before Ku Yong could even question him, the bleached skeleton of the tiger, still warm from its last breath, collapsed into the dust under Zumo's spell. Then, as though the heavens themselves had rewound time, scarlet sinew began to coil over bone, fresh flesh knitting itself together. Ku Yong's eyes widened, her breath caught in her throat. She had never witnessed such sorcery. Zumo turned to her, his tone calm yet tinged with satisfaction. This is the rebirth manuscript at work. A faint smile touched his lips. And tonight we dine on tiger meat unlike any other. With a wave of his hand, he plucked several glowing amber leaves from the flower stalks, their crimson light dancing in the fading daylight. We'll wait out the night in the local cave, he said, as if stating an unchangeable decree. The girl agreed, dragging the tiger carcass by its thick tail as they made their way inside. Within the cavern, firelight licked the stone walls as the meat sizzled over the flames. Ku Yong sat cross-legged, eyes fixed on the mesmerizing cooking process. Suddenly, Zumo's voice broke the quiet. Girl, mind your breathing. The sudden gravity in his tone made her stiffen. She turned toward the cave mouth, her gaze catching faint silhouettes moving against the night mist. Master, who are they? She whispered. Zumo's eyes narrowed. Followers of the sect, he said slowly. Strange, to see them here, so near the Jade Dragon Mountain. He glanced back at her, his voice low and edged with meaning. Perhaps that explains why so few dare wander here. If they interfere, I will see them erased. Elsewhere, deep in the forest, Li Ru crouched in the shadows, eyes locked on the very same sect followers. It was the third time she had crossed paths with them in this region, and the sheer number of cultivators here gnawed at her thoughts. Lenny, her loyal companion, called from behind. "Mistress! There are battle traces nearby." Li Ru's pupils contracted. She could feel it, the mixed auras of jade grass and blood amber lingering in the air. Such energy could only come from the sect, or from Zumo himself. She muttered. Her decision was instant. She needed an alchemical furnace, now, to refine elixirs before it was too late. Without another word, she sprinted off. "Mistress! Wait! Where are you? If you're afraid of the night, then stay!" she shouted over her shoulder. Lenny hesitated, fear prickling his skin, but she was already gone, darting deeper into the moonlit woods. Morning light spilled through a crack in the cave wall, brushing over Kuyong's face. She stirred, only to find her body heavy, her limbs aching as though bound by invisible chains. "Must be, from my last training," she murmured. Zumo glanced at her knowingly. "In a few days you've reached the 6th level of Kai purification," he said. "But your body is straining against the pain. At this pace, you'll cripple yourself." Then, his voice softened into command. "We move. Now." Before they left, he handed her a small bottle. "During your next training, drink this. It will dull the pain." She bowed her head in thanks, gripping the vial tightly as they ventured deeper into the forest. "Master," she asked along the way, "how valuable is the alchemy furnace we seek?" Zumo's eyes gleamed. "It is beyond most in quality. If my memory serves, we are close. But beware, the furnace is guarded. The jade snake will not allow trespass." Before she could answer, sharp cries echoed through the trees, coming from the furnace's direction. Zumo's expression darkened. He moved silently through the brush and froze. There, in a clearing, Lai, blade in hand, was already locked in a reckless battle with the jade snake. The serpent coiled and lashed, hurling the boy through the air. Why is the main character of this novel here? Zumo thought sharply. Lai spat blood but pushed himself up, glaring at the serpent. His mistress had been gone too long. He would kill this beast himself. "Fool!" Zumo shouted from the shadows. "You're too rash!" But Lai heard nothing. His blade flashed as he roared. "This time, I'll end you!" Yet, just as steel met scale, something unseen intervened. The boy's body was hurled aside like a rag doll, slamming hard into a jagged stone wall. His breath caught in his chest as pain lanced through his ribs. The serpent slithered forward, its massive coils rippling with lethal grace, its tongue flicking in and out with an irritable hiss. Its golden pupils locked on him, predator to prey, closing the distance inch by inch. And then, like a figure stepping out from a dream, noble Lord Zumo appeared before Lenny. His robes swirled in the windless air, his presence carrying an almost oppressive calm. His gaze never left the serpent as his voice, deep and certain, rolled forth. "It seems, even fate itself wished for us to meet here, so that I may claim your core." Lenny's eyes widened. A core? But what stunned him even more was the sight of the serpent subtly channeling spiritual power. Before his eyes, a shimmering spiritual core manifested within the serpent's body, glowing faintly with an emerald hue. Lord Zumo's brows drew together. There was no admiration in his eyes, only mild disappointment. The serpent hissed in startled defiance, and Lenny was left utterly baffled by the scene unfolding. Zumo advanced, every step steady and deliberate, until Ko Young leapt in to intercept the beast. Steel met Fong as Ko struck blow after blow, the ringing clash of her weapon echoing in the enclosed space. But the serpent's ferocity was relentless. Its fangs lashed toward her, each strike laced with killing intent. At last, Ko's movements faltered. Her breathing quickened, her guard slipped, and the serpent lunged. Its fangs were a hair's breadth from her throat, when Lord Zumo's hand flicked outward. "One stroke of magic," he declared coldly, "is all it will take to destroy you." A flash of blinding spiritual light erupted. When it faded, the serpent's body lay still, its head lifeless upon the ground. The core, pure, untarnished, floated gently into Zumo's hand. Lenny rushed to Ko Young's side, concern etched into his features. "Are you hurt?" She lowered her gaze, shamefaced. "I was too careless, young master." I apologize. But Zumo shook his head. No, it is thanks to you that I could extract the core in perfect condition. His tone shifted to that of a teacher imparting truth. If the serpent had turned all its desperation toward me, it would have released venom into the core, ruining its purity. But when it saw you, it clung to hope, and thus, I took the core unharmed. Ko listened with bright eyes, hanging on his every word. Zumo's expression softened ever so slightly. You have done well. Now we tend to your wounds, then we move on. Her heart swelled. Rare was the day her young master offered praise. But not everyone shared her joy. From a shadowed corner, Lenny's heart burned with rage. What was this noble lord doing here, intruding so brazenly into their fight? Could it be he too knew of the alchemy furnace hidden in these woods? Lenny forced the thought aside. Survival came first. He must not get caught again. Yet before he could slip away, Zumo was suddenly in front of him, his presence cutting off every escape. Where are you rushing to? Lenny stammered, sweat pricking his brow. And nowhere, not in a hurry at all. Zumo's gaze was icy. Where is your companion, Li Ru? Lenny's eyes darted about before he muttered. She ran off. One final question came, sharp as a blade. The cultivators from the sect, have you seen them? Lenny quickly pointed toward the path they had taken. But to his unease, Zumo turned in the opposite direction, straight toward the cave where Li Ru now hid. Inside the cave, Zumo's steps echoed softly, until the metallic scent of blood reached him. Deeper in, he found the source. Piles of human remains lay scattered in grotesque heaps, the stench clinging to the air like a curse. In all his life, Zumo had never seen such carnage. They bore the marks of the Leland sect. But why were disciples of the first and second cultivation stages here in the Emerald Dragon Mountain, facing a spiritual beast whose power so vastly eclipsed theirs? It was reckless to the point of madness. His sharp gaze caught something, a row of small pouches beside the corpses. He reached toward one. But a sudden, sharp sound from the shadows made him freeze. Mr. Zumo at first thought it was nothing, an illusion of the mind, a trick of the ear. But his instincts whispered otherwise. He forced his heart into stillness, like a blade sheathed in ice, and first checked the stove's position. Yes, it was still there. Yet that strange sound gnawed at him. Had it truly been nothing? No, he was certain now. He had not imagined it. Without hesitation, Mr. Zumo stepped deeper into the cave. Cold mist clung to the jagged walls, the air thick with silence. Nothing moved. Nothing stirred. And then, a sharp, piercing cry split the stillness. Koi's scream. Zumo's eyes narrowed. He spun on his heel and rushed out, his figure a blur in the dim light. The man outside was already retreating swiftly into the shadows. Meanwhile, Li Ru sat frozen, panic tightening her chest. Now she was certain. Her suspicions were right. After seeing Mr. Zumo in person, her fury boiled over. How could that witch, Kuyang, not only gain the favor of Lord Zumo, but also take what rightfully belonged to her? She clenched her fists. She had been the one who should have received Zumo's guidance, his protection, his training. Instead, she was left abandoned, just as in their last lifetime. History repeating, but in reverse. Snapping back to her purpose, Li Ru remembered why she had come to this cave. To find the alchemical furnace. She tore open the first bag. Empty. The second, empty. The third, still nothing. Her breath trembled. Mr. Zumo had already taken it. Rage twisted her features. The furnace was gone, leaving only scraps of worthless junk. And the prize had fallen into the hands of Zumo and that witch Kuyang. No. She could not stay here. She had to escape, now. Outside, not far from the cave, Kuyang was bound in a shimmering web of magic, struggling in vain. The sectarians surrounded her, eyes cold, their leader's voice sharp. Speak! Where is it? Each time she moved, the binding talismans flared, striking her with sharp bursts of spiritual force. I told you, she gasped. I don't even know what you're talking about. The leader's brow furrowed. A subordinate leaned in. Chief, the aura of the jade snake, it's not here. The leader grunted in disbelief. Humph. That serpent wouldn't die so easily. He turned back to Kyung, voice dripping with disdain. You're in the Jade Snake's territory. With your pitiful cultivation, you couldn't have slain it. Kyung's temper flared, but before she could speak, the cultist reached through the bars, fingers curling around her throat. You will tell me where the Jade Snake is. He paused, eyes flickering over her features. Humph, you're quite a pretty one. Before his hand could tighten, a cold, commanding voice cut through the air like steel. Remove your hands from the girl. The sectarian sneered, ignoring the warning. He shook Kyung. Speak now, or suffer for it. His arm drew back to strike. Crack. A flash of movement. Pain exploded in his wrist as something struck it with crushing force. He screamed, only to see Kyung twist free and drive a vicious kick that shattered his arm. The surrounding sectarians froze. Who had? From the shadows, Zumo stepped forward, his presence like an unsheathed blade. In a single motion, he dispelled the binding spell around Kyung. She fell to her knees. Forgive me, young master, she breathed. I allowed them to catch me. The cultist snarled, rushing towards Zumo with blinding speed. Zumo lowered his head slightly, eyes sharp as a predator's. You sought this fight. Now you will bear it. With a flick of his sleeve, talismans burst into the air, sealing a protective barrier around Kyung. The cultist tried to advance, and froze in shock. Our spiritual energy sealed? Zumo's lips curved faintly. From behind him, a ripple of killing intent surged. Kyung's spiritual energy flared, forming a gleaming spear in her hands. Her eyes hardened. Leave one alive, Zumo ordered. Yes, young master. She moved like lightning, spear thrusts laced with fury. One by one, the sectarians fell, their cries echoing through the forest. Finally, she stood before their leader. The one who had dared to grab her throat. Her grip tightened. Her gaze burned. You, she hissed, will regret touching me. The girl seized the sect leader by the leg, her grip unyielding as iron, and dragged him forward. Young master, she said with a proud smile, I've taken care of the remaining sectarians. With a sharp swing, she hurled the battered leader at Zumo's feet. The man lay there, barely conscious, his breath ragged. Kyung stepped forward, handing over a bundle of supplies. But Zumo merely waved his hand. Keep them for yourself, he said calmly. Then, with a flick of his fingers, Zumo conjured a swirling vortex of chi, a twisting whirlpool of pure energy that hummed with lethal force. It shot forth, engulfing the sect leader. The man's body arched, his eyes going wide as pain tore through him. From now on, Zumo's voice was cold, each word like a blade. You will answer every question I ask. He wasted no time. Your name? The leader's panic was immediate. Why did you kill my disciples? He shouted, trembling. Kyung tilted her head, mildly puzzled. Without a word, she summoned her energy spear, the golden weapon materializing with a sharp crackle. She strode forward, her shadow falling over the man. My name is Yui, he blurted at last. I am a loyal follower of the Lilan sect. Zumo's gaze sharpened. What business does the Lilan sect have in the Jade Dragon Mountains? Yui hesitated, then spoke quickly. We came, seeking Yanling's secret kingdom. Zumo's pupils narrowed. Yanling's secret kingdom? How did you even learn of its existence? He demanded. The Qingtang sect, Yui stammered. Their elders began spreading rumors, whispers of a hidden realm. Zumo pressed on, his tone turning dangerous. Then where did the Qingtang sect obtain their information? But Yui shook his head desperately. I don't know anything more. Zumo's expression hardened. With a sudden motion, he threw Yui to the ground. The man scrambled, clutching at Zumo's robes. Please, spare me. I beg you, forgive me, Zumo said quietly. But today is the day you leave this world. No, wait. It was too late. A burst of lethal magic tore through the air, and Yui's body crumpled lifelessly. Kyung stood nearby, her expression unreadable, watching the act without flinching. Once it was done, Zumo placed a hand on her shoulder. It's time to move. She nodded silently, falling into step beside him. From a tree not far away, Lingy exhaled in relief. Finally, they're gone. But the moment he shifted, his foot slipped. Crash! He fell hard to the ground, groaning. Almost instantly, Luru appeared before him, her eyes blazing. Lingy! Do you know anything about Yanling's secret kingdom? She demanded. Her fury was palpable. She pulled him up with a sharp tug. Get moving! We follow them east, but keep our distance. We cannot be seen. I must know where the secret realm lies. Meanwhile, Zumo and Kuyang sat deep within a cave. The noble lord tended a crackling fire, its warm glow dancing across the rocky walls. Beside him, an alchemical furnace pulsed with light as Zumo worked, channeling intricate techniques to awaken its attributes. At last, a faint shimmer rippled through the furnace. The potion for Kuyang was nearly ready. All that remained was to let the broth thicken. Outside, footsteps approached. Kuyang entered, holding 2 fresh rabbit carcasses. Young master, she said lightly, we must be close to our destination. I even crossed paths with a few cultivators on the way. But her eyes narrowed. What troubles you? There are matters still unclear, Zumo admitted, his gaze distant. Kuyang smiled faintly. Then hear this, I've learned something useful. From what I overheard, disciples of all 3 great sects are converging on the secret kingdom. Not only that, their sect masters themselves have come to the Jade Dragon Mountains. Zumo's eyes widened. The masters, personally? She nodded. It began when the elder of the King Tang sect went to a merchant, the same merchant you visited, in search of a jade ring. When he returned, all his men began to act. Zumo's thoughts swirled. The slums, the jade ring, the elder. Yanling's secret kingdom. He realized it now. By going to the slums, he had claimed an opportunity meant for Linny. That single step had set off the chain of events leading the elder of the King Tang sect to discover the secret realm. While Zumo pondered, Kuyang roasted the rabbits, offering one to him. Not yet, he murmured. She shrugged and bit into hers with unrestrained appetite, listening quietly as he spoke. The smell of roasted meat soon filled the cave, and she tore off another piece, handing it to him with a grin. At that moment, Zumo remembered the furnace. By now, the potion should be complete. Rising swiftly, he moved to check. The healing elixir for Kuyang would soon be ready. The lid of the dragon alchemy furnace creaked open, and a rush of blinding crimson gold light burst forth like the dawn breaking over a battlefield. Steam coiled upward in shimmering tendrils, carrying with it a heat that seemed to hum with ancient power. Zumo's eyes narrowed. Blood amber. What had been a mere potion within had transformed, refined, into a true magic pill of the rarest hue. The furnace's dragon engravings almost seemed to stir in satisfaction, their etched scales glimmering as if acknowledging the success of the alchemy. With steady hands, Zumo plucked the pills from the furnace and slipped them into a silk pouch, each movement deliberate, as though touching fragments of the heavens themselves. Without a second thought, he flicked one pill toward Ko Young. This, he said in a calm, deep voice, is your reward. Her eyes widened. The moment the pill touched her palm, her lips curved into a bright, unrestrained smile. Thank you, young master, she said, joy spilling into her voice. But Zumo's tone turned stern. If you wish to remain of use to me, Ko Young, you must continuously grow stronger. She bowed her head without hesitation. I understand, young master. Satisfied, Zumo lay down, his black hair spilling over the bedding like ink. 8 days, he said evenly. That is all you have. The entrance to the secret kingdom of Yanling will open then, and with the key, we may enter. Ko Young's voice rang with resolve. I will train hard for you, young master. Starting now. She sprang into practice immediately, until a loud gurgle betrayed her stomach. Her cheeks colored faintly, and with a sheepish glance, she retreated to roast the rabbit from earlier. By the time the scent of charred meat filled the cave, Zumo had already drifted into deep meditation. Far away, at the eastern rim of the Jade Dragon Mountain range, 3 sect masters and their retinues stood before an ancient portal wreathed in swirling light. One elder turned to Elder Tang. This time, you have truly achieved much. Tang waved dismissively. A mere coincidence. Nothing more. Another elder laughed heartily. With this, the entrance to the secret spiritual realm lies firmly in the hands of our alliance of 3 elders. They all knew, even Zumo, with his jade ring, would not pass them unchallenged. The 3rd elder's eyes gleamed. With the combined might of our 3 sects, success is inevitable. Tang's lips curled into a knowing smile. The kingdom of Yanling is vast, more than enough opportunities for all 3 of us. Their laughter echoed through the mountains as they strode toward destiny. Meanwhile, Ko Yong awoke in the cave, disoriented. Has it already been 8 days? She asked. Sumo stood silently, holding a glowing magic core, saying nothing. His silence left her momentarily stunned. She decided to fetch food and stepped outside, only to feel a sudden rush of wind. A blur streaked past her vision. Then, roar! A massive black panther lunged at her from behind. Ko Yong spun, seizing its tail in a single fluid motion. Her thoughts flashed, not of danger, but of the meat. So much meat. Young master will love this. The beast snarled and tore itself free, circling for another strike. But Ko Yong's eyes gleamed with battle hunger. She unleashed her chi, and with a thunderous boom, the panther was hurled against a tree. The hunt was over. Triumphant, she hauled the carcass back to the cave, the thought of roasting such exotic meat quickening her steps. Soon, the panther's rich aroma filled the air as she ate, savoring every bite. But Sumo still sat unmoving in deep cultivation. Her brow furrowed. If he doesn't wake soon, we may miss the opening of the secret kingdom. Yet, she could not help stealing glances at his face, handsome and composed in meditation. When a delicate butterfly landed upon his nose, she instinctively reached forward to brush it away, only to find her face dangerously close to his. Flustered, she leapt back. "Why, young master? It's not what you think." Sumo's eyes opened at last, his voice deep and unreadable. "The secret kingdom." Elsewhere, at the ancient gates of Yanling, one of the 3 elders, his gaze as sharp as a sword's edge, immediately understood. "The portal, it is ready!" Without hesitation, the 3 elders raised their hands, their robes snapping in the wind. Mystic light surged from their palms, flowing into the ancient gate. A heartbeat later, a colossal beam of radiance erupted upward, piercing the heavens. The earth quaked. A muffled boom shook the air, and dust from a small explosion rolled in smoky clouds near the portal's base. High on a ridge, Tail Young lifted a slender finger toward the sky. "Young master, look!" Turning his head, Sumo's eyes narrowed. That dazzling pillar of light, he recognized it instantly. The 3 sect masters, they'd begun. But he also knew, they do not yet possess the key to enter Yanling's secret realm. Beside him, Kuyang clutched at his sleeve, worry clouding her face. "Young master, hold on to me," Sumo interrupted firmly, tightening his grip on her hand. "If we quicken our pace, we can still reach them." He sprang forward like an arrow loose from the bow. The wind roared in Kuyang's ears as she clung desperately to him. Her heart hammered. His arms suddenly pulled her closer, his warmth steady against the rushing chill. "If you fall, I won't have time to find you," he said. Kuyang's cheeks burned, but she obediently pressed herself closer. Sumo's speed surged again, blurring the trees into streaks of green. His only thought, reach the portal before it's too late. Meanwhile, the 3 sect masters poured ceaseless streams of chi into the ancient gate. The portal pulsed violently, the surface trembling as if alive. Victory was close, until a deafening crack split the air. The portal's surface fissured like breaking ice. Sumo and Kuyang skidded to a halt at the scene. "Too late," Sumo muttered. Panic flickered in Kuyang's eyes. "What do we do now?" Sumo's gaze hardened. "We follow them." The 3 sect masters exchanged tense nods. "Supreme Leader, complete the ritual, quickly!" The Supreme Leader's fingers blurred in a final seal. With a resonant hum, he conjured a space-sealing talisman, hurling it into the gate. From his vantage point on the mountain, Sumo's pupils contracted. A space-sealing talisman, expensive. Preparing for this journey cost them dearly. Kuyang's voice trembled. "If they enter first, all will be lost." "Not quite," Sumo replied calmly. "The greatest treasures of Yanling are never easy to seize." On the sidelines, The withering spirit sect lingered, unmoving. One elder called out mockingly, "Do you need a special invitation to enter?" Shamed, their disciples leapt forward, joining the swelling crowd. Disciples of the Green Vine sect and Thunder Mist sect gathered as well, the air thick with tension. Li Ru shoved Lenny forward. "Hurry! Ow! You hit too hard!" Lenny protested. But Li Ru was already sprinting toward the portal. Lenny chased after her, until Li Ru suddenly slowed, her steps faltering. "What is it?" Lenny called. Li Ru shook her head, dismissing the feeling, and kept running. "Come on!" From the mountain, Zumo's gaze sharpened. "Strange," he murmured. Kyung tilted her head. "Young master?" "Ignore it," he said, though his mind whispered another truth, an illusion. Below, the elder's eyes glinted. "It is time." The elder of the King Tang sect spoke gravely. "Only our own skill will carry us to the treasures. Be ready." Another elder's restraint snapped. "Enough waiting. Let us see what awaits." With that, the three elders stepped through the portal. In the very next breath, Zumo and Kyung descended beside it. Kyung looked up at him. "Are we going in?" "Yes. But we'll need the cloud key," he said. He grasped her hand, warm, steady, and together they stepped forward. The world blurred. When their vision cleared, Kyung's lips parted in awe. They stood in a forest of luminous trees, their trunks bathed in silver light, their leaves whispering in an unseen breeze. "Beautiful. We must find the door, before the elders do," Zumo said, his tone urgent. "Yanling's secret realm has 9 floors. Each door leads to the next. I know where they are." He crouched. "Climb on my back, we'll move faster." Without hesitation, Kyung obeyed. Zumo's figure blurred into motion once again, racing through the glowing forest toward destiny. And in a few breaths, they were deep in the shadowed heart of the forest. Kyung opened her mouth to speak, only for Zumo's palm to gently press against her lips. "Quiet," he murmured. "Something is here." His gaze swept the undergrowth, his senses like a drawn blade. Moments passed. The forest remained still. Only then did he lower his hand. "It's clear. Time to start collecting." Kyung tilted her head in confusion, but followed as he strode toward the mountain. Zumo moved with the certainty of one who already knew the path. At the mountain's base, he pushed aside a tangle of thick vines, and a door appeared before her eyes, etched into the stone like a phantom gate. Kyung's eyes widened. "A door here?" Zumo's voice was low but firm. "Every door in the secret kingdom of Yanling is hidden well. Only careful seekers can hope to find them." Kyung stood frozen, stunned by the sight. Zumo gave her a small push. "Move. We've no time to stand and stare." As she stepped forward, she muttered, "Hiding a door here, clever. The creator of the Youngling Kingdom must have been a truly cunning person." But at those words, Zumo's brow twitched. "Cunning?" He gave her a flick on the nose. "Less talking, more moving." "Ow!" She yelped softly, rubbing her nose, but obeyed. They crossed the threshold, and the lush forest fell away, replaced by a vast, unforgiving desert, where jagged rocks jutted like the spines of ancient beasts. Kyung shaded her eyes. "Young master, in a place like this, how can we ever find the door?" He took her hand, but before he could answer, a shadow shifted. Sand exploded, and a monstrous giant insect lunged from the ground, its many legs scuttling like thunderclaps. Zumo's eyes glinted. "This one's yours." In a heartbeat, Kyung leapt forward, she swirling around her like a storm. She snarled at the creature. "Stay back from my young master, or I'll tear you apart." Elsewhere, Len and Li Ru trekked across the first floor in their own hunt for the doors. Len pointed toward a small hillock. "I think we should check there." Li Ru's eyes narrowed. "Idiot." Smack. She cuffed him across the head. "The flower of immortality should be near." "I can feel it." Len rubbed his skull, frowning. "And how do you know that?" Her lips parted as if to speak Zumo's name, but the thought alone soured her mood. Her eyes flashed with jealousy. Len started again. "But mistress." She yanked him back sharply. "No time for talk. Move." They reached a cliff, Li Ru's gaze fell to the depths below, where a single immortal grass flower had already been plucked. Meanwhile, in the desert, Koyong stood panting, the centipede's corpse crumpled at her feet. Sumo approached, holding a delicate sprout in his hand. Here. Eat this. Her eyes widened. Is that the flower of immortal grass you picked on the first floor? Sumo nodded. I gathered a few treasures along the way. This one will greatly strengthen your body. She bowed slightly. Thank you, young master. Without hesitation, she devoured it. Far away, Li Ru fumed. Again, someone else took what I wanted. Her gaze darkened. Could Sumo be in the secret realm of Yanling? No, she reminded herself. She had been one of the first to enter with Len. Len's voice broke her thoughts. Mistress, she snapped, her patience gone. Shut up and look for the door. We must get ahead of the elders. Her blows rained down on him until he scrambled away. Back in the desert, Koyong now faced another insect, her young master's voice cutting through the heat. Too slow. Focus. Strike from the left, then the right. Only then will you break its defense. Her blade danced, flashing from side to side, until she struck the final blow, cleaving the monster's body into pieces. From the remains, the broken soul of a cloud spirit emerged, hissing. Without pause, she crushed it to dust. Panting, she turned, only to meet Sumo's calm, unyielding eyes. Your decision in battle was far too reckless. Her eyes blazed with indignation. Koyong turned sharply, her breath caught. Before her loomed a monster far greater than the one she had slain mere minutes ago. Its towering form blotted out the dim cavern light, every movement radiating an oppressive killing intent. She was not ready for this battle, but there was no time to hesitate. With a fierce cry, she struck. Again, her blade bit deep. Again, the air shuddered with the force of her blows. Over and over she attacked, each strike heavier than the last, until at last, with a final cleave that split the beast's skull, the monster collapsed in a thunderous crash. Sumo, her young master, stepped forward, his lips curling into a rare smile. This time, well done, he said, voice like calm steel. He lifted his hand. A stream of radiant magic flowed from his palm, weaving into her wounded arm. Koyong stared in disbelief as the torn flesh knit together instantly, leaving only smooth, unblemished skin. She bowed deeply. Thank you, young master, for your grace. Come, he ordered, already striding forward. We climb higher. After some time, their path led into a vast cavern of jagged black stone. Towering crystal spires jutted from the walls like frozen fangs, each shard gleaming with a dark, unholy light. Sumo's gaze sharpened. If my memory is correct, the place we seek lies close. He extended a finger, a beam of magic lancing forth, shattering an entire stone wall in a single blast. Behind the rubble, a hidden doorway pulsed faintly. They stepped through, and were greeted by a breathtaking sight. The sakura forest, at the height of its blooming season. Countless petals drifted through the air, painting the world in soft pink. Koyong's lips parted in awe, but before a sound could escape, Sumo's hand clamped over her mouth. Hold your breath, he murmured, eyes grave. Confused, she obeyed. The fragrance, he explained, is deadly. One breath too deep, and the poison will still your heart. A shimmering barrier of clean air formed around her. Horror dawned in her eyes as she whispered, Poison, from such beauty? Sumo plucked a single blossom, its scent intoxicating even within the barrier. To a poison master, he said softly. This is a treasure worth more than gold. She listened, entranced by his words, until her stomach betrayed her with a low growl. Sumo arched a brow. Hungry? Blushing, she nodded. A portal shimmered into existence before them. We'll rest on the 4th floor, he said. Eat, regain your strength. We still have far to go. Far from the forest, at the entrance of the secret kingdom, an elder's voice thundered with fury. 2 hours! And still, you cannot find the door? His disciples bowed low, faces pale. Elder, the Yanling realm is limitless. Searching for the door is like searching for a needle in a... Silence! The elder snapped. We have no choice but to use it. The other elders froze. Horror flitted across their faces. The Secret deduction technique? They knew the cost. Years, decades, of life burned away in a single casting. You cannot! One protested. Head of the LCT, you must reconsider. But the leader's eyes were cold. Do not forget why we came. Compared to the treasures within Yanling's secret kingdom, what is a few years of life? Reluctantly, the others fell silent, though their disapproval was written plain upon their faces. Meanwhile, Lyra battled the raging lion beast. She struck again and again, but her foe's strength did not waver. Pain lanced through her side as its claws found their mark. With a roar, the lion lunged, death raced toward her. And in that instant, Lenny appeared at her side, dragging her out of the beast's path. But the lion was relentless. Even after tumbling to the ground, it charged again, eyes burning with savage hunger. Lenny moved without thinking, placing himself between the monster and his mistress. Lyra's fingers closed around a fallen blade. At the last heartbeat, she drove the weapon straight through the lion's snarling muzzle. The beast collapsed. Lyra fell back, breathing hard, her body trembling from exhaustion. Yet Lenny remained sprawled on top of her. How long? She asked coolly. Do you plan to lie there? Flustered, he stammered. I was only protecting. Her knee shot upward, connecting sharply. Lenny rolled away with a strangled cry, clutching himself. Ignoring his suffering, she asked, Did you find the door? He pointed toward a thicket of tall plants. It's hidden there. She parted the foliage cautiously. You're certain? Elsewhere, on the fourth floor, Ko Yong sat by a crackling fire, devouring roasted meat with unrestrained hunger. Young master, aren't you eating? She asked between bites, but Zumo's gaze was fixed on the piece of jade in his hand, its surface glimmering faintly. This stone, he murmured, will serve us well when the time comes. The flickering campfire cast long, wavering shadows across the fourth floor of the secret kingdom of Yanling. Kuyang's gaze lingered on the lustrous jade in her young master's hand, her eyes widening with sudden recognition. Young master, she whispered, her voice tinged with awe. I remember this jade. Zumo once found it on the second floor of the secret kingdom of Yanling. Zumo, seated calmly beside the flames, gave a small nod. His tone was matter-of-fact, yet carried the weight of ancient knowledge. This is no ordinary stone, it is a jade of transforming spirit, a treasure beyond compare. The finest material for refining weapons, and if wielded well, capable of elevating a spiritual weapon into the rank of a spiritual treasure. Kuyang's breath caught. Such a thing truly exists? Her heart pounded at the thought. Young master, have you found a use for it? A faint, knowing smile touched his lips. I have a few ideas, he said simply. Meanwhile, deep within the second floor of the realm, Lyra's sword danced like a streak of silver lightning, cleaving through chittering insect beasts. Beside her, Li's blade struck true again and again. Yet with each kill, more swarmed forth. Lyra exhaled sharply, her brow furrowing. I never imagined there could be so many monsters here. Then, she noticed Li standing still, his eyes narrowed in concentration. What are you doing? She demanded. I'm thinking, Li replied. I can feel it, a powerful aura, from over there. He pointed to the shadows beyond. Lyra tilted her head. Aura? Could it be the door to the next floor? He shook his head slowly. No. This doesn't feel like a door. It feels like a treasure. One of great value. Her eyes gleamed. Then enough talking. Let's go. Without waiting for him, she darted toward the source of the aura, her steps swift as wind. Far above, on the fourth floor, Zumo and Kuyang had just finished their meal and resumed cultivation. But suddenly, cough, cough. Kuyang's face paled, and bright crimson stained her lips. Pain racked her body, yet she pressed on, refusing to falter. I cannot be a burden to him. Zumo's eyes widened in shock as her chi flared wildly, enveloping her in a shimmering radiance. Enlightenment, he thought, such talent, such resolve. This girl is worth nurturing at all costs. Her aura surged like a rising tide. Elsewhere, within a hidden hall, the elders of the King Tang sect fumed. Their disciples had yet to find the door. This is a waste of time, one spat. We must resort to the secret deduction technique, even if it costs us years of life. The first elder's expression darkened. In this immortal's realm, the price is far steeper. 10 years of our lifespan, each. The third elder's eyes widened. 10 years? It cannot be helped. The second elder said grimly. This is our last hope. The three joined hands, their chi intertwining as the ritual began. The air trembled, and a glowing magic circle took shape, revealing an image, a thicket of helical foliage, and beyond it, the hidden door. In such a secluded place? The third elder murmured. Send word to the disciples. The first elder ordered. Prepare to enter the second floor. Priyang stirred, feeling the warmth of her young master's chi shielding her. She turned, meeting Zumo's calm gaze. You're awake, he said gently. She nodded. Then we move on. Time is precious. Before she could reply, her stomach rumbled loudly. Silence fell. Both looked away, the air thick with awkwardness. Elsewhere, Lai and Li were crouched behind a jagged rock, eyes fixed on the massive form before them. A colossal desert dragon lay coiled in the sand, its golden scales gleaming faintly in the dim light. Li Ru's breath caught. A desert dragon, here? Impossible. Such creatures are rare beyond imagining. Memory surfaced, Zumo's voice, once telling her of this beast. She shook her head, forcing herself back to the present. Lai noticed the change in her expression. What's wrong? She didn't answer his question. Instead, she said softly, Beneath this dragon's cave lies a legendary jade of transforming spirit. Li's eyes widened at her certainty. But how do we enter, without alerting the beast? She murmured. He raised a hand, pointing into the shadows ahead. Look there. Li Ru and Linny's gazes snapped upward as several streaks of light split the heavens, descending like divine spears. Their hearts trembled. Only the elders could produce such brilliance. In the next instant, three venerable figures landed nearby, robes billowing with immortal authority. The elder of the King Tang sect swept his sharp gaze over the land, lips curling into a thin smile. My intuition has never failed me, he declared. They've just entered the cave where the precious stones slumber. But before his words could fade, the sudden arrival of the three elders sent ripples of power through the earth, awakening the dragon that lay dormant within. With a thunderous roar, the beast erupted from the depths, its scaled body like a living mountain of gold and obsidian. The elders froze mid-step, their eyes widening in disbelief at the sight of the monstrous creature. The King Tang elder's expression hardened. Enough hesitation. The treasures are within our grasp, only this beast stands in our way. Slay it. With a flash of steel, Elder King raised his blade skyward. She flared like a burning sun as he and the other three elders surged forward together, their disciples streaming after them like a tide. Linny instinctively moved to take flight, to intercept them. We can't let them be the first into that cave. But Li Ru's slender hand shot out, seizing his sleeve with surprising force. Wait. Her pull was so sharp that Linny stumbled, pitching forward into her. Before he could even catch his balance, thwack, her foot sent him reeling back, a boot to the face. Mistress. I was only trying to stop them. Her gaze didn't waver. Do not underestimate that lizard. This fight will not end quickly, nor easily. Meanwhile, far away in the mountains of the next floor of the youngling's secret kingdom, Ko Young and her young master, Zumo, emerged into a realm shrouded in drifting smoke and curling fog. The girl's curiosity sparked at once. Young master, what awaits us here? But Zumo only extended his hand. Follow me. Obediently, Ko placed her delicate palm into his, her fingers trembling slightly. The mist grew thicker, cold tendrils coiling around them. Ko's heart began to pound. Young master, what's happening? His voice was calm, almost chilling. One wrong step, and you'll wander in this fog forever. Fear prickled her skin. She clung tighter to his hand. Zumo knew there was only one way to cut through this phantom haze. Ko stumbled in the whiteness, bumping into his back. Without turning, he clasped her hand once more. Stay close to me. Always. Then, like a shadow-swift wind, the noble young man surged ahead. Ko had to cling desperately to his arm to keep from falling and vanishing into the fog. At last, the white veil parted, revealing a vast, roaring waterfall before them. Zumo's eyes gleamed. "We've arrived, at the most sacred place on this floor." Ko stared in awe. "This waterfall? Sacred solar water," he explained. "Bathe here, and your life will lengthen. Your spiritual power will multiply. For you, it will stabilize your foundation and purify your energy." Ko blinked in surprise, then shook her head. "You should go alone, young master." But Zumo's tone grew firmer. "Treasures like this do not appear twice. Come. Nothing ill will befall you if we enter together." Her face flushed at the thought of bathing beside him, but before she could respond, the battle with the dragon raged. The elders' attacks rained down like meteors, yet the beast's scales deflected blow after blow. With a surge of power, they bound it with glowing chains of magic, seeking to immobilize it for the killing strike. Then, roar, the dragon's cry split the heavens. The sound crashed like a tidal wave, hurling the elders backward. Blood trickled from Lyra's lips. "Mistress, are you all right?" Linny cried. She wiped her mouth and nodded. "I'm fine." Though Linny himself was reeling from the same ear-splitting force, Lyra's eyes sharpened. "Now's our chance." They slipped like shadows beneath the cliff, where above, the dragon and the three sects clashed in fury. Finally, they reached the heart of the cave. Upon a small golden pedestal sat the object they had been seeking, a top-level spirit-transforming jade, radiating an aura so pure and potent it seemed to breathe. Lyra's hand reached for it, when a strange sound echoed through the cavern. Her fingers froze inches from the jade. On the other side, Zumo and Ko Young had removed their clothes and entered the spirit liquid. Ko Young felt a little anxious and wondered if anyone else was there, but Zumo remained focused on absorbing the spirit liquid. Ko Young hesitated and said, "Thank goodness for the spirit screen. Okay, let's hurry." She then focused fully and began absorbing the spirit liquid as well. Zumo said, "I can absorb about 1/3. Then, he took a pill and began absorbing faster. However, his power to absorb the spirit liquid was dangerously strong, and he started absorbing it at an alarming rate. Ko Young was left stunned, and after a short while, Zumo experienced a breakthrough. Ko Young, seeing this, said, "It seems that young master has already broken through the spirit realm. I still have to work hard." She then resumed her cultivation, but suddenly, something began to happen to her body. She felt pain and could no longer absorb the spirit liquid. She vomited blood, which Zumo noticed immediately. He used his power to try and save her. Ko Young started to lose consciousness, but Zumo quickly caught her and tried to examine what was wrong with her body. On the other side, at the second layer of the cave, Ro was still in the same spot, shocked to find that the item she had come for was no longer there. In anger she said, "What is this? Someone must have come before us. They actually took the precious jade, leaving behind illusions." Lenny said, "Could it be that besides the three sects, there are other experts?" Just then, they heard a terrifying roar as something fell from the dragon mountain outside, and it seemed like the mountain was about to collapse. Sensing this, Lenny grabbed Ro's hand and tried to pull her out of the cave. They both looked outside the cave, and Lenny found himself so close to Ro that he began to feel embarrassed. Meanwhile, the three elders, who had been severely injured and exhausted, had somehow managed to defeat the dragon. They were the first to head toward the treasure. Seeing them, Ro quickly closed Lenny's mouth, signaling him to stay quiet, though she was seething with anger inside about how they could get out of here. Lenny, on the other hand, was enjoying the moment, his face turning red as Ro remained so close to him. Meanwhile, Zumo had pulled Ko Young out of the spirit liquid and had dressed her. Ko Young was unconscious in his arms. Zumo looked at her and said, "I didn't expect it to turn out like this. Her constitution is actually experiencing a backlash at this time. I can only do it this way." He used his power to bring her back to consciousness, and Ko Young opened her eyes, sitting up and asking, "Did I faint in the pool?" When she looked at her clothes, she was shocked because she knew she hadn't been wearing them when she was in the spirit liquid. She glanced at Zumo and realized he had dressed her. Her face turned red with embarrassment, and she shouted, "Wait! Young master! Did you change my clothes?" It seemed like Ko Young was about to faint again, but she felt something inside her body and her eyes began to close once more. She began to lose consciousness, but Zumo caught her, knowing her physical condition was still weak. He placed his finger on her forehead and began infusing spiritual power into her. Ko Yong weakly murmured, "Did I hinder young master again?" Zumo replied, "I temporarily sealed your spiritual power." He then took out a treasure and said, "This item is for you. Do you remember when I said there was a treasure here to repair your physique?" Zumo asked. Ko Yong looked at the treasure with wide eyes and said, "This is jade skin ice bone grass?" Zumo confirmed, "Yes, just harvested from above the waterfall." Ko Yong looked at the waterfall and said, "Ah, young master, you went so far for me." Zumo replied, "Originally, I was going to take it back to make medicine, but now it seems too late. There's only one method, but it involves extreme pain." Ko Yong said, "As long as it succeeds, I'll endure any hardship and face the sun without hesitation." "Young master, let's begin," Zumo then said. "Okay, first, take off your clothes." Ko Yong eagerly agreed, but as soon as she understood what Zumo had said, her face turned crimson with embarrassment. She screamed, "Why do I have to take off my clothes, young master?" Zumo explained, "Because the clothes will freeze and shatter." Ko Yong had no other choice but to lower her head. Zumo added, "Anyway, I just put the clothes on you a moment ago." Ko Yong reluctantly agreed, and slowly approached Zumo, removing her clothes one by one. She shouted, "Young master, let's begin!" Zumo stood behind her and placed the treasure on her shoulder. He warned her that it might be very painful, but Ko Yong prepared herself. As soon as the treasure was used, she felt like she was trapped in a whirlpool, being pulled down quickly. The cold was unbearable, but she endured it, slowly losing consciousness. However, she then heard a voice, thinking it was her young master's voice, which gave her the strength to endure. She became completely frozen in ice, and Zumo looked at her, saying, "Now it depends on her destiny." On the other side, the three elders seemed lost. The second elder shouted, "How is this even possible?" Ruo and Lenny were secretly observing them, and Ruo thought, "The breathing holding technique won't last much longer." Elder Ten said, "Could it be someone sneaked in while we were fighting? They should still be in this cave." The second elder said, "Use the insight technique to check." Ruo and Lenny became extremely nervous, realizing that if the elders found out about them, they wouldn't survive. Just as the second elder used his power to investigate, one of his disciples rushed over with urgent news. Meanwhile, Ko Yong began to crack the ice, and Zumo understood that she was waking up. As soon as she opened her eyes, the ice shattered, and she began to float in the air. Zumo, blinded by her brightness, closed his eyes and slowly opened them again. Ko Yong now looked much more beautiful and mature, but in her unconscious state, she fell into Zumo's arms. Zumo gently held her and smiled as he looked at her loving face. However, Ko Yong was still without clothes. Slowly, Ko Yong began to open her eyes and saw her young master in front of her. She was slightly surprised and thanked him for saving her life. Zumo responded, "It's just a small favor. By the way." Ko Yong then turned around to look at her clothes, and upon noticing that she was still not dressed, she blushed deeply with embarrassment. As Zumo began to leave, he said, "The remaining Holy Sun fluid, you should use it now." Ko Yong's face turned even redder as she thought. The young master's reaction, could it be shyness? Back in the spirit liquid, Ko Yong was still shy, with half her face submerged under the water. She glanced at Zumo, feeling conflicted about her emotions. She thought to herself, "Zumo is so good-looking." But she couldn't quite understand what this feeling was inside her. Zumo noticed her and asked, "What are you looking at?" Ko Yong, startled, quickly sank deeper into the liquid. She shyly poked her head out and said, "Nothing." Zumo gently patted her head and said, "Quickly adapt to your new physique." Ko Yong smiled and nodded. Meanwhile, the three elders' disciples reported, "Report to the sect leader, we've found the entrance to the third level." Upon hearing this, the three elders were shocked. The second elder quickly said, "Hurry, let's go check." But the third elder stopped him, saying, "Wait, what about the person who stole the treasure?" The second elder replied, Oh well, we'll deal with that later. Elder Tung, hearing this, said, Let's search as we go. And they all began to head out of the cave. Seeing them leave, Ruh and Lenny let out a sigh of relief, but suddenly, they both fell to the ground. Lenny ended up on top of Ruh, though he didn't realize it at first. Ruh, noticing this, punched him on the cheek and said, Step back, you pervert! Lenny apologized but asked, What should we do now? Without saying much, Ruh told him to follow her. However, Lenny nervously said, They'll discover us soon. Then, Ruh suddenly began to remove her clothes, which completely shocked Lenny. Ruh noticed his reaction and, in an instant, slapped him hard across the face, pushing him away. Meanwhile, at the third level, the second elder and Elder Ting were ecstatic to see it. Second elder said, According to ancient records, the resting place should be on the fourth level. Third elder remarked, This flower looks familiar. It seems like I've seen it somewhere. All the disciples were excited to see the third level, and one female disciple even praised its beauty. But the second elder interrupted, saying, Never mind that. Finding the entrance to the fourth level is more important. As he turned around, he realized his disciples were already dead. Meanwhile, more disciples were fighting among themselves. Seeing this, the third elder recalled something and said, I remember now. It's the illusion fragrance flower, highly poisonous. Elder Tung ordered the remaining disciples to quickly cover their noses and mouths with something. Just then, the second elder punched the third elder in the face, and the third elder angrily asked, What are you trying to do? Elder Ting joined in and attacked the third elder with the second elder, and together, they beat him severely. The third elder called for a timeout, and the second elder said, Sangshan, quickly bring out your hidden treasures. The third elder, now exhausted, said, Yeah, don't hide them, or you'll have to explain everything here. Upon hearing this, Elder Ting retrieved a treasure. Ling Clean Jade Talisman. Capable of removing any restrictions, toxins. I only have this one. Second elder said, Now that it has come to this, we can't worry about that much. The third elder turned to his disciples and said, Yes, for the disciples. The second elder used the talisman immediately. Meanwhile, Ko Young had come out of the liquid pool, put on her clothes, and walked towards Zumo. Zumo observed, It seems she has also absorbed a lot of the Sun Saint's essence. Ko Young, surprised, asked, What's wrong, young master? Zumo replied, Let's go, we're heading to the next level. They began climbing towards the waterfall, and as they reached the top, they encountered a monster, which Zumo swiftly defeated. Ko Young was completely stunned. Zumo casually said, It was a small effort. Ko Young in awe said, For young master's kindness, I can't repay it in this lifetime. Zumo nodded and said, All right, the door is over there. They moved towards the door, and as they walked, Zumo added, After the 6th level, there isn't much danger, more treasures and opportunities. Meanwhile, at the 4th level, all the disciples and elders were exhausted. Elder Ting said, This is the 4th level. Can we finally take a rest? The second elder replied, Brother, it's not the time to rest. The third elder added, Right, let's hurry to the next level. The Sun Saint's essence that can heal injuries. Meanwhile, Ruh and Lenny had also changed their clothes. Ruh was focused on something else as Lenny said, Sun Saint's essence, a familiar name. Ruh glanced at him and thought, This boy is so foolish. A while later, Ruh felt something odd and noticed Lenny's facial expression change. Suddenly, he attacked her, but Ruh kicked him away easily. She then asked, Are you more awake now? Lenny, with a faint laugh, nodded. Ruh warned, Next time you act like this, I'll leave you there. Lenny replied, If it weren't for Miss Ruh Xue, I wouldn't have made it here. Just then, Ruh felt something and became alert. She gazed in one direction, thinking, If I can get the Sun Saint's essence, my cultivation can break through quickly. Meanwhile, at the 6th level, Zumo and Ko Young reached a massive arena. Ko Young was astonished, and suddenly, a light flashed, and a man appeared from it, who turned out to be a puppet. Ko Young became cautious, but Zumo explained, He's just a puppet. Ko Young was even more shocked. How can a puppet look like a human? Zumo told her that they had to challenge him to move to the 7th level. the puppet said. Defeat me, and you'll proceed to the 7th level, otherwise I will kill you. Zumo then pushed Ko Young forward, saying, Go, fight him. Ko Young entered the arena to fight the puppet, while Zumo, with the help of his power, summoned a chair and sat comfortably, saying, Seize this opportunity to familiarize yourself with your new techniques and spirit quickly. Before Ko Young could process it, the puppet attacked her from behind. But Ko Young easily dodged and understood what she needed to do. Meanwhile, the 3 elders had reached the 5th level with their disciples. The 2nd elder asked, What about the Sun Saint's essence? The 3rd elder said to Elder Tun, Brother, don't panic. Sun Saint's essence is rare in the world. How can it be easily found? The 2nd elder ordered. All disciples, advance quickly. As they moved ahead, a 3rd elder tried to stop them, saying, Hey, old man Lei, don't be impulsive. Just then, smoke began to spread, and the disciples felt something strange. The 2nd elder realized there was danger, and ordered them to form a formation. Meanwhile, at the 6th level, Ko Young was fighting the puppet and giving it a tough challenge. Zumo, relaxed, watched the fight and said, They're changing their tactics. The puppet kept attacking Ko Young relentlessly, and one of the attacks hit her, causing her to fall. She turned around, only to find the puppet had disappeared. Suddenly, a massive punch from the sky was headed straight for her, hitting her directly. Ko Young fell into the arena with a loud crash, and a bright light flashed.